Welcome back to GT2 Garage. Today I'm very pleased to tell you we're working on the 911. Going to be carrying out some modifications, rear spoiler, 997 airbox, some new wheels. What else are we doing? Oh, decatting it, and then we're going to put a new water pump on and a low temperature thermostat. Easy for me to say. Just told you what we're going to be doing, and very excited. I've managed to get hold of a GT2 copy, not original, rear spoiler, a Misha spoiler, which is a company in California. I don't think they'll no longer produce it. I'm not quite sure. It's gone a bit quiet on the internet with them. So I managed to find this spoiler locally, and I'm going to show you how we fit it in this episode. You've already spotted, haven't you? I've made an error. I've fitted the spoiler and I've fitted the 997 airbox. So that's the end of the video, right? No. I'll tell you what happened. I'm great with the spanners and working on cars, but I'm terrible with the IT. I tried to go modern and use an iPhone and a wireless mic and blah blah blah, and it's been a complete nightmare. So I've had to go back to my original camera, my trusty Lumix Panasonic G6 camera, which works fine, and the inbuilt mic, and I'm going to carry on doing the spanners and just use a simple camera. So the next time you see me, it might be a little grainy and the sound quality might be a little crap, but I can't redo fitting the spoiler. I'm sure some of you will be keen to know how easy or how hard it was to fit. So let's get watching those videos now. How do you get the spoiler off? The original sort of motorised spoiler. It's made of 3 parts, and I found it easier to put the spoiler up with the button inside the car. So the spoiler is up like that. Then you've got the outer grille part. This is held on with 4 bolts along here, here and here. 4 Allen key bolts. You take those off, that slides out and removes that part. You're now left with this, with the brake light fastened on. There's some circlips on here for the bellows that you take the bellows off, and then there's 4 bolts at the back, 2 for each hinge, holding it in place, and then there's 2 bolts through here and through here going to the hydraulic ram. So there's sort of there's 3 components to this. There's this, which is the frame, which is the bit that goes up and down. There's a louvered bit on the top, which is your body colour painted, and then there's a sort of a chassis underneath, which has got the motor on to actually drive it up. And this is probably, if you've got one of these, you'll notice these end up rusty here. They end up rusty here, and this is the opportunity now for me to paint these in case I ever go back to this spoiler. So once you have the bits of the top off, you need to get the inner bit off, and this is underneath here. So you have a frame which is bolted on, and it has the lifters, one here and one here, with a motor for it there. It also has a wiring loom here. I'll come on to this wiring loom later because this is just a complete ridiculousness. That is just a little electrical connector plug. Got one connector there, got about 1 metre of wiring, a plug there, a plug there, and a plug there. Basically you've got your high level brake light, you've got your interior light for your boot, and you've got your fan. That's it, 4 wires. Porsche, genuine loom, nearly £1,000. I am not kidding. That is just ridiculous. Genuine GT spoiler, 4 grand. More craziness. So once you got your outer bit and your frame stripped off, you're then ready to actually put the boot lid on. Now what I'm going to do, oh sorry, there is one other thing I need to show you, and this is the only bit I've had to do a modified car where I was like a bit hesitant at first, but it's the way the spoiler, it's the way the spoiler bolts on. It bolts on with, I think, about 10 fixings, 10 M6 fixings. It's picking up on the bolts where this fastened on originally. It's also picking up on this rear edge where the spoiler bolted on, but because the boot lid, engine lid, whatever you want to call it, is aluminium, what it has is these little brackets. These are all the screws that have come out of it so far. So let me show you this. So this is the only bit I was concerned about really. I've had to drill these. These are aluminium, as you can see, and they're tapped, and they go on the underside there, and you bolt the pit. That's the pivot for the spoiler there and there. What I've had to do is drill out the pot rivets here, here, here and here. So there's 4 pot rivets I've drilled out. I was concerned at first that the boot lid's going to rust, but then I realised I didn't know it's aluminium. So they've had to come out, so if I'm having to ever go back, I'm going to have to drill out those rivets fully and put those back in, but I don't see that as a major problem. And you can see this is where it's picking up on. So the new GT2 spoiler is picking up on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fixings, and these are the fixings where the sort of the bellow went in there. So moving on to this lovely rear spoiler, this GT2 replica spoiler. I need to tell you more about this, don't I? How was I this lucky? I don't know. I was looking online. You go on Design 911, GT2 spoilers £4,000. I'm not paying that. A lot of copy aftermarket ones are about £1,500, but when you start getting into it, you realise they're poor copies and they're going to need a lot of body work, painting and getting ready. So even if you buy a spoiler for £1,500, you might be spending another £500 on it with paint and paint and filling to get it ready. I don't know. So you're up in the sort of the £1,500 to £2,000. I paid £500 for this in the right colour, and the guy I got it off said it was red, I think, when he got it, and he had to get it sprayed to match his car, and the body shop had to do a lot of work on it, so I have saved a lot. Now this is not obviously a GT2 genuine spoiler, it's called a Misha spoiler, M-I-S-H-A. They do 2 spoilers. They do a GT2 spoiler, and this is actually the GTM. The GT2 is sort of squarer here at the end. Oh, you can't see, can you? It's squarer at the end. It doesn't have this sort of taper. It comes out square like that. And I would have preferred that, but you know, you can't be choosy, can you, really, when it comes along and it's available. So yeah, brilliant. The company itself, Misha, if you look at it, seems to be a company based in LA. They seem to have gone off the radar in about early 2000s. I think they were struggling to manufacture and keep up with supply and demand, and people were waiting a long time for them or something like that. So you can't get them anymore. They're not available. I'm lucky. Yay, let's capitalise on that. So the only thing I need to do is a couple of repairs on the back of it. Well, there's 2 things I want to do. There's the vents on the front, which I'm going to show you, because it's got little vents. You can probably just see little things there where my hands are coming through there, one there and one there, and that's to let the air in the engine bay. What I think I might do is put some black mesh over those, and then we're not sucking in small children and rodents. And then on the rear of it, you can see there with the fiberglass moulding, you can see this is the bolts where it's picking up, and it's got riv nuts into the aluminium. What I have done, it was a good tip from the previous owner, I've put some foam tape on here on this part, because this actually rubs on the boot lid, on the original engine lid, and what he said is he found once he came to take it off, I think what happened is a classic case of he sold the car and he thought he'll probably get more money if he takes the spoiler off and sells it separate. So what he said was this had rubbed on the boot lid, and this is sort of visible once you take it off, and it would mark the paint. So what I've done is I've just put some self-adhesive tape on there and on that end, and I haven't had a big trial fit. I can see it's already squashed in, so it's obviously doing its job, so that's good. So what we need to do is repair some of these riv nuts, and then we can do a final fit. The only other thing I'm going to do on it, and it's more down to me being a bit of a scaredy cat, I'm probably just going to put a bead of sealant around here, so it's sort of bonded on and screwed on, because I'm not so confident about these riv nuts. You know, the riv nuts, at the end of the day, these riv nuts are in fiberglass, you know, so you sort of think, So a bit of a closer look, you can see these are the slots I was talking about, so I'm going to put some black mesh over these, and just silicone sealing that on over there. These are the riv nuts. I've replaced one already and bonded it in, araldite it in. I've got that in slightly the wrong place. It needs to go about 3mm further up, so I'm going to have to take that one out and do it again. I've got one there that pulled out because I was rushing when I test fitted it, and I didn't really, it was about -4, and it's not really the right temperature for araldite to go off, so I need to redo that one, but I had done that one already. And what I'd used is these that I got from Screwfix. Now these aren't your traditional riv nut. A traditional riv nut is more like this, and when it expands and flares out, and it's smooth on the outside. Now I thought, well, if I'm aralditing it on, I could do with something that's a bit ribbed to get these sort of purchase. And I came across these. These are M6 furniture fittings that you're meant to screw in to furniture, but they're ideal because the araldite can grip all around there when I put them in. So I've got to get that one in like that there and bond it in place. What happened is I had it slightly on an angle, so what I'm going to do is do a little plate here, bolt it through and hold it in place, and that one, as I say, just needs to move further in. So I'm going to get these done, and then we can start to get it back on. And that's the sealant I'm using there. It's just a hybrid sealant. Hybrid as in it's part grab adhesive, part sealant, and in black just in case any of it's showing. Made a plate here, and what this is going to do, this is going to support this in the correct orientation, and then I can bond it at the back with some araldite, and then I'm just going to do file this one a little bit further up so I can then put the riv nut. I'm either going to put the riv nut back in or one of these. So this is the thing I'm going to use. It's an araldite. It's a 2-part epoxy, and it's a little bit better than the glue because you can mould it and it's going to stay in the place. You can see it looks like a little sausage there. You've got like the black in the middle and then the grey around the outside, and what you basically do, you cut a slice of it off, take the outer skin off, and then when you start to mix the two together, you can you feel it reaction. So you can see there it's sort of a mix of a grey and blue. There it's a mix of a grey and blue, but it will go sorry, it's a mix of a grey and black, but it will end up all black, and then as it starts to go off you feel it getting a little bit warmer. Not very hot, it's not like fiberglass getting hot like that. If you ever use fiberglass resin, it gets really warm just before it goes off. But there is a reaction, and I'm just going to reinforce some of these original ones as well, just because I just don't want them to pull through. So I'm just going to roll it up into like a little sausage and just wrap it round. This is set super hard now, this araldite. You can hear that. It's even quite a good colour match for the black, so I'm happy with that there. So we've got that screw in there. So we fixed one there. We fixed and improved on one here and also up here. So next thing to do is get the mesh over this. So I've cut it out roughly, and I'm going to see how I can sort of form that in there in 2 sections. I'm going to do one there, one here, and then stick it on with some of this mastic sealant. Okay, change of plan, not going for the glue gun. The glue gun didn't work, it wasn't sticking to the fiberglass. I just wanted to try and tack them in the corners, so I'm going straight for this hybrid sealant grip. Patented design here for holding the mesh in place. Whilst we wait for the mastic to go off on this spoiler, what we should do is fill our time with something else. So let's have a look at the airbox mod, the 997 airbox mod. Now, what is the 997 airbox mod about? What it's about really is fitting a prettier and neater airbox in. That's all it's about. Pretty much the same. I'm going to upgrade to a K&N air filter. I'll come back onto what the Munchie is about. That's the cheapest mod you can do. But this is the existing 996. So I just don't like it. I'm not so keen on this sort of, you know, fluted affair here going in, and it just looks a bit ugly where that looks a lot nicer. It's got the Porsche scripted logo on. Okay, it says 3.8, we're not 3.8, we're 3.6. So we've added 200cc by fitting the air filter and about 50 brake horsepower. So what we need to do is take the MAF sensor plug out there, take this plastic inlet elbow off here. There's also a mod here which is a resonator mod. I'll come on to that in a minute. And well, we'll talk about that now actually. What this is in here, there's a resonator in here where basically all it does is it takes, there's a resonator in here and all it does is it's a chamber, and someone worked out that it will reduce induction roar and therefore get the car past noise levels for sale by having this in place. Blocking it off does not improve your performance any way, shape or form. People say it does, but it doesn't really. All it does is it gives you more induction roar, therefore you think it's better, so therefore a perceived extra 50 brake horsepower. So that's blanked off. On the 997 box, this has the ability in sports mode to put vacuum on this pipe here, and it pulls pressure on there. So if I was to suck on the end of that, I'm not going to do, but that flap's going to shut. So this is your sort of Porsche sports mode. All it simply does is it shuts that and it creates more induction roar. Adds no performance, but it's a bit of a placebo effect. So that's open. So some people cut all this off and they hack the airbox apart and they take all this out to increase the volume of the airbox. I'm not going to do that because the air filter sits in here, sucks up through this element, through the end there, goes through the tube there, past the MAF sensor and in. I'm not going to play around with that. Porsche knew what they were doing with that really. So all I'm going to do is block this off so it's as if that's permanently shut. I'm not going to cut it off because the airbox, I might change my mind in the future and I might want to take it off and sell it, and the airboxes are selling at the moment for between £250 to £350 on eBay, which is crazy money. It's a plastic airbox. I, on the other hand, was really lucky. I scored it for £30 off eBay. Yes, £30. I thought the guy had made a mistake and he meant 300. I even emailed him. He said, no mate, happy to get it out of my garage. 30 quid. I know it's worth more than that. So I actually drove 200 miles to pick this up, as anyone would, because you save yourself a fortune. So back to it. What we're going to do is we're going to blank this resonator off, and I'm just going to leave it in place. Like I say, I might want to sell the air filter in future. I don't want to butcher it or bastardize it. I've done that sort of thing before, and in 5-10 years time you realise it's worth a bit and I shouldn't have made a mess of it. So all I'm going to do is plug this. So how do we plug it? This is where the munchies come in. So what you do, you eat the contents, throw the tube away, and then what you find is if you take this out, that fits perfectly in there. When the hose goes on and the clip goes on, there's a seat just inside there, so it will not be sucking this up. What I may do as well is I may put a bit more tape just around this, bit of insulation tape so it's a snugger fit, but that's going to fit in there. Look at that, that looks perfect. Factory Porsche would approve of this modification for the munchies. So that goes on there, MAF sensor in, connected in. This snorkel coming out the end, you can use the 997 snorkel, but I've been told you need to modify the position of this air pump here. And I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to plug this pipe in. I may do that modification later. So let's see how this goes. Oh, and of course, I've got a K&N air filter. So let's see how we get on. The air filter is pretty easy to come out. There's a 13mm nut down here at the front edge, which you need to remove. You need to disconnect your MAF plug, push that to one side, unscrew the bellows here at the top, unclip your oil filler, and then it's just a case of pulling the air filter, rocking it forwards and taking it out the car. It's as easy as that. Before we fit this air filter, there's a couple of differences between the 996 and the 997, and one of them is a fixing point here on the front. On this it has a plastic plug, On the other one, like I said, it has the 13mm bolt that goes through. So we're just going to transpose these over. Fairly easy to do, just push the plug out. That's just going to fit in there like that. Next thing to note is it doesn't just get the air down here. I thought it did, but there's actually in this one there's a mesh gauze on this one at the bottom, and on the 996 you'll see it's actually, there's holes in it, so it's sucking air in from the bottom through the air filter, and also from the top down here, and that comes in at the bottom. So the air comes in at the bottom, the air filter's here, and it sucks through and then goes through. So there's two ways for the air to go in. I didn't know that. So presumably it's just for a little bit of warm air on a cold start. So I'm going to put the new K&N air filter in. K&N performance air filter going in. Oh, what a shame it didn't come with a sticker. Oh, it does come with a sticker! Yes! You know that adds 50 brake horsepower. Got to have a sticker. Right, so let's have a read of this. I think it comes pre-oiled, blah 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 blah. Install with ease, detailed step-by-step instructions. Download a PDF. Why would you need to download a PDF for how to install an air filter? That's just crazy. The world's gone mad with IT. I tell you. There's no way you need to download a PDF file how to install this. I'm going to show you how to install it. Take out of bag, place in, job done. Right, so we just need to screw this together. On the 996 the screws are ugly and on the top. On the 997 it's much neater and the screws are underneath. In fact, it looks like it wants to sit in this bit first, so maybe I should have downloaded the PDF and then I would have known that. Right, so that goes in there. Yeah, maybe I should have downloaded the PDF. Right, so there's the filter in there. Put the case on the top. And you'll see that's the same shape between the two of them. So that's the 986 and that's the 997. So we can just swap that over. That locates in there. So that is the mods ready to do, other than the resonator mod. So all we've got left to do now is this resonator pipe, this resonator. That's quite a snug fit in there now. So we just need to get the tube on for this, and I'd say we're ready to go. This is just going to go on like this. There we go, 997 airbox in place. Quite an easy swap over. Also added a performance K&N air filter, and I think that looks a lot better. That's really probably what Porsche should have done from day one, shouldn't it? That looks a lot cleaner and tidier. For an eBay find and a £30 upgrade, I'm pretty happy with that. That looks a lot slicker and smoother. Whether I'd pay £400 for it, I'm not really sure. So I also had to buy a packet of munchies, so there's a couple of pounds for that. Still waiting for the grills to dry on this, so there's not a lot else we can do. So let's go back inside, search eBay, and correct that, I've already bought something from eBay. If you look right over here, I've already bought something from eBay. Some fake LMS, some fake BBS LM wheels, which I'm not sure whether I want those or the lobsters. I think these grills down here look better. We've got the grills in rather than just the opening into the fiberglass. So there we go. One GT2 spoiler fitted. So that's it for today, working on the 911. Put the GT2 or GTM Misha spoiler on, put the 997 airbox on. Next we're looking at changing the wheels. We might be going away from these Techno wheels to these aftermarket wheels, which I quite like. They're a copy of a BBS LM wheel, but I'm not so keen on this chrome trim. So until next time, I'm going to show you how to make a wiring loom for £25 for a fixed rear spoiler conversion on a 911 996. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.